going to start with the Swish Pan. I'd like you to take a look. I've got this nice static shot, and I've got a shot that where it's moving. This is a great chance to use a Swish Pan. This is something you could do in camera. You would do maybe from one side of the street to another side of the street, or in this case, one side of the dock to another side. It's one of those transitions that I might use when I generally teach. I teach most of my students, you know what, you can use two transitions, a dissolve and a cut. I like dynamic transitions that don't call too much harsh attention, and the Swish Pan is definitely one of the nicer ones, something that I can do in camera. And because I can do it in camera, it's not something that I feel that I'm necessarily not still holding up the old film guy in me. Because something I could do in camera, it's something I feel okay doing in post-production. I'm just going to play this through as is. And you can see it swishing and blurring and then bringing the other one back into focus at the end of it. It's already animated. And a nice feature here is that we have some pre-built animation, and you could, if you wanted to, keyframe this animation. The only thing I want to say about this animation is it's fairly linear. And some of in fact, I believe all the transition effects have an animation tuning category. I'm just going to roll this open. We can view the curve, and you can see that this is a linear curve. In other words, as we move through the effect, the Swish Pan continues equally with each frame. Every frame notches forward the same amount. What we might want is a much more natural ease. Say an ease in and an ease out. And you can see, as I take this ease in and I start cranking it up, you can see it's going to ease into the motion and ease out of the motion with the ease out. And this is a much more natural looking movement. This, if you do any animation, when you do movements, you generally would like an ease in and an ease out on your movement, just so it appears like it's a little bit more organic. When it was linear a moment ago, it was the way a clock hand moves, the same amount every second. Now this is much more like nature. And if you can imagine a bird landing on a branch, the bird comes down pretty quickly, but then the very last moment, he slows down quite a bit to land gently on the branch. And that's exactly what it's doing, this preview curve. I'm going to back that up and I'm going to play that through. And it's just going to go a little bit slower, rush in the middle, and then go slow again at the end, giving us a much more organic looking transition, a much more organic Swish Pan. I don't have to go left to right with it. I have other directions. You'll see the direction for this is set to default to left. You could also say top and it would go up, down, or left, it would go the other direction. The whole thing here is you don't have to do anything. You can throw this effect, tweak the animation if you want to, save the effect if you want to, save a preset if you want to, but you don't have to do it yourself, and it gives us this very naturalistic sort of look with our effects. And just because it's kind of my favorite at the moment, a nice lens blur lens transition, I'm going to go ahead and grab this and throw it on these last two clips here. If you've ever seen this happen in camera, let's go ahead and play that. You can see it's blurring and blowing out at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and really accentuate this. Let me park in the middle here. I want this to really feel like something that was done in camera and can be done in camera. And I'm going to start that off by just jacking up the iris here. I'm just going to make it a lot higher of a value so we can see what's going on. I'm going to want the highlights. You can see a little bit, let me take the iris back down. You can see a little bit of these highlights here. When I go and let me take the scale up where I was going to set it before. I've set it to about 60 or so. I'm going to go ahead and punch the highlights up so you can see what's going on down here in the iris a little bit more. I'm going to roll open these highlights. I'm going to boost the highlights. With them boosted up, you'll see, oh, look at that sort of shape. That shape, that hexagonal shape here that we're seeing in these highlights, this is what happens in a lens. When the lens gets blown out, you're actually seeing the blades of the iris of the lens. I've boosted this up a little bit. I'm also going to pull back the threshold really so we can see that a bit better. Let me pull back the boost just a little bit. But you can see we've got these beautiful bokehs going on that are an artifact that I actually want here to make it look like it's a lens blur. A neat feature of this effect, of this BCC lens transition, is we can actually view that iris. You can see the black and white representation. I can make it a 10-sided. I can make it a 3-sided like a triangle. Let's turn off the iris. You'll see that these become now gorgeous looking triangles. I could also make it a circle. With this set to a circle, I can tell the bokeh to blur inwards or outwards. I'm actually going to pull it inwards. And when I pull it inwards, it's going to cause this really gorgeous ringing effect out here. So we had a transition that was not bad, but with just this little bit of tweaking, it becomes something that looks like it was done with a lens and a camera, and again gives more of that filmic feel to our work that makes it look more realistic. I like to think it increases the production values of our work.